A winter storm dumping rain and snow on San Diego County. A look at how this weather is impacting us and when things will let up. A historic moment. President Biden signing the COVID relief bill in just a few moments. A look at where all that money will go and who it will help. And following the trial of the former officer accused of killing George Floyd, the judge ruling on a big change this morning. ABC 10 News at 11 starts now. We will get to our weather coverage in just a moment, but we are waiting for President Biden to sign the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. That's a day earlier than originally planned. This package, known as the American Rescue Plan, sets aside money for vaccines, schools, small businesses, and new stimulus payments. And again, we're looking at the podium there where we expect the president to come out shortly. Now, that measure includes direct payments of $1,400 for many Americans, $7.2 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses, about $46 billion to expand federal, state, and local testing for COVID-19, and nearly $130 billion to help reopen schools. Now, coming up in our next half hour, we will be talking to Representative Mike Levin about other ways this money will help San Diego cities and parents. Now, the signing of this bill comes on the anniversary of COVID-19 being declared a pandemic. To mark this day, President Biden will deliver his first prime-time address to the nation and remember the lives lost. The address will also lay out the next steps for the U.S. response to the pandemic, and that includes explaining what the administration is doing and what the president expects Americans to do to recover. You can watch the president's address tonight at 5. That's right here on ABC 10, followed by ABC 10 News. And again, we will let you know when he arrives to sign that bill. Now to our other big story today, winter weather bringing rain and snow to the county. Let's get to ABC 10 News meteorologist Megan Perry. You've been tracking all of this and it has been a lot.
It really has been a lot. And I want to start off with this really gorgeous shot from downtown. These clouds were just so dramatic. It was hard not to show. Shout out to Tracy for pulling that up for us. And this is what Julian looks like, a winter wonderland. The plows have been going through. They've been doing a really good job clearing out the roads there, but make sure you're bringing chains if you're headed to the mountains. We saw snow as low as Warner Springs this morning. Thanks to Thomas, one of our early risers that's always watching with us this morning, for sending in those shots. And you can actually see that Palomar Mountain saw some of the highest totals over Southern California, 16 inches. We saw Mount Laguna at 11 inches and Julian just shy of 6 inches of snowfall. Rainfall has also been impressive. Escondido, Vista, Oceanside, all seen over an inch of rain. Downtown, about 6,700s. And if you're in the South Bay and even near the Humboldt area, you may have heard some thunderstorms recently. All of that thunderstorm activity was farther to the south, just across the border. A few isolated showers will continue today and tomorrow, but the worst of the rain and snow is out of here. I will pinpoint the winter storm warning that has been extended when I come back with your full forecast. Virginia?
Oh boy, all right. Thank you so much, Megan. The flakes flying this morning in the mountains. Here is a live look at the snow that has piled up in Julian. And you can see the plows have made their way through and the roads look pretty good, but there's a lot of snow on the sides there. And meanwhile, all the fresh powder means another day of virtual learning for Julian Union Elementary, Mountain Empire Unified, and Warner Unified School District students. The Julian Union High School District announced a snow day closure for this day. Well, the ground on Mount Laguna also covered in snow. More than a dozen inches fell overnight and in the morning hours. The CHP wants to remind people heading to the mountains that chains are required. ABC 10 News reporter Natay Holmes spoke to locals who had some other reminders for visitors.
It's a peaceful winter wonderland outside of the Laguna Mountain Lodge, but it won't always be this calm. With the snow comes the crowds, and neighbors in Mount Laguna are asking visitors to be safe and help out the people who live here. Snow piled up and icicles hanging down. This was the sight to see in Mount Laguna early Thursday morning.
We're please asking people if they're coming up here to make sure they're prepared.
Snow plows ride up and down the mountain, making a path for drivers. The owner of Laguna Mountain Lodge also clearing the spaces in front of his business. The area received over a dozen inches of snow as of Thursday morning, with more snow expecting to make its way in. But when the snow arrives, so does the crowds. Cars lined up along Sunrise Highway as visitors stop for a snow day.
You know, with the COVID lockdowns, everybody wants to get out, wants to get up to the rural backcountry areas.
Rami Abdel owns a glamping business in Mount Laguna. He is asking that visitors respect the people who live here.
Don't litter, pack it in, pack it out.
Chains are required if you plan to make your way to the snow. Local officials say drivers will be ticketed if they don't have them.
Sometimes gets real messy. We have accidents, congestion. You might be waiting in your car for a long time. There's only one way in and out. The roads are really windy and narrow, so just please act responsibly and be safe.
Nate Holmes, ABC 10 News.
Welcome back. In just moments, President Biden again set to sign that $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, and we will be taking you to an ABC News special report as soon as it begins. Looks like the camera is trained on the door there as we expect the president to enter for this historic signing, and we will definitely take this for you live when it begins. Meanwhile, keeping an eye on what's happening to our north, mudslides forcing several Orange County communities to evacuate. Those include Silverado, Majeska, and Williams Canyon. People there officials telling people who can't get out to shelter in place while crews cleared those roads. Orange County Fire Authority saying they had to rescue at least 4 people who were trapped in their homes. The affected area is scorched by the bonfire in December.
Mud came down the first 2 storms, but the 3rd storm we didn't have anything. And so we thought everybody kind of felt like, you know, whatever's come down has come down, and that's about it. But, you know, 7 o'clock this morning, it just went crazy.
Some cars were swept away in the mudslide. Orange County Fire says at least 6 homes had mud flowing right through them. Inspectors will be sent out to determine the extent of the damage once it's safe to do that. You can follow the path of this slow-moving storm by using our 10 News app. You can find that on Google Play and the App Store. So CVS is opening 119 more vaccination sites here in California. That brings the number of sites to more than 280 pharmacies across the state. Appointments will open for booking on Saturday as stores receive vaccine shipments. And we want to take a moment now to take you to this ABC special news report for the Biden signing.
Good afternoon, and we're coming on the air because right now President Biden is set to sign his landmark $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. You see the president there in the Oval Office. Let's listen.
The weeks that this bill has been discussed and debated, it's clear that an overwhelming percentage of the American people, Democrats, independents, our Republican friends, have made it clear, the people out there, made it clear they strongly support the American Rescue Plan. Yesterday, with the final passage of the plan in the House of Representatives, their voices were heard and reflected in everything we have in this bill. And I believe this is, and most people I think do as well, this historic legislation is about rebuilding the backbone of this country and giving people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance. That's what the essence of it is. And I'm going to have a lot more to say about that tonight and the next couple of days and be able to take your questions. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is sign this bill and make the presentation tonight. And then there's going to be plenty of opportunities. We're going to be on the road, not only talking about what I'm talking about tonight is the impact on the virus and how we're going to end this pandemic. And we're going to talk at all the elements of the bill beginning on Friday and Saturday and through the week. So thank you for being here. Got it. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
There you have it. We'll see if the president takes any of these questions in the Oval Office there. Vice President Kamala Harris at his side, signing his landmark bill. Help is on the way for millions of Americans struggling 1 year into this pandemic. Of course, this is also a major victory for the president early in his administration. 51 days in now, the bill includes $1,400 checks for most Americans. It extends jobless benefits through the summer. They were set to run out. It also lowers the cost of health insurance for those relying on Obamacare. There's money for schools, small businesses, for the vaccine effort. We should also note that today's signing comes just hours before the president delivers his first primetime address to the nation. You heard him mention that. It marks 1 year since the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus pandemic around the world. And here in the U.S., of course, the staggering toll. We have lost more than 529,000 Americans to this virus, and we must always remember that. The nation, of course, now asking, what will this next chapter look like? We have 3 vaccines now, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. The president hinting he will talk about that next chapter in prime time later tonight. I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, watching this with me, this moment of history, the largest relief package since the Great Depression here in this country. This was a major victory for the president. He did this without one Republican vote, either in the House or the Senate, Mary, but he also did it knowing the polling on this right up until the moment he signed this today has been on his side.
And David, that is why it was one of the first things, actually the first thing, the president just mentioned in his remarks there. While not a single Republican, not one, was willing to join him on Capitol Hill in passing this bill, the White House was willing to take that risk because they feel that the American people are behind this bill. We know from the latest polling, 41% of Republicans, according to one poll out this week, do support this bill. And it is a risk for the president, though, in doing this just with Democratic support. Joe Biden came to Washington confident that he could work across the aisle, that he could convince Republicans to back some of these big ticket agenda items of his. But Republicans simply insisted that this bill was just too expensive. Republican leaders called it a partisan spending spree. But the president over and over again said the risk here was not in going too big, but in going too small. He was never willing to compromise, to come down from this nearly $2 trillion price tag on this. And David, just to put that in perspective, with passage of this bill now, Congress has over the past year spent more than $5 trillion on stimulus efforts around this pandemic. That is more than the U.S. spent in World War II. It is more than the GDP of Japan, the world's 3rd largest economy. So this is a massive amount of money, but it is something that the White House is very confident was absolutely needed in this moment. That said, in order to get this passed, the president did have to make concessions just to get Democrats united. Those $1,400 checks are going out to a more limited number of Americans than the president had hoped. Those unemployment benefits will now be extended just through the first week of September and at $300, not the $400 the president had hoped. So this does expose the real political realities that the president will face going forward here in Washington.
Yes, those negotiations to keep moderate Democrats on board. He could not afford to lose one vote in the Senate. Mary, our thanks to you. And you heard Mary point out those numbers, in particular from the Pew poll just this week. 70% of Americans saying they support President Biden's COVID relief plan, now signed into law by the president moments ago. And you heard Mary mention a significant number of Democrats, obviously 94% of Democratic voters across the country. And as Mary said, 41% of Republicans polled said they support this as well. Our coverage continues on ABC News Live, abcnews.com. And of course, I'll see you in just a few hours with our entire team on World News Tonight. And then, as I mentioned, 8 p.m. Eastern, the president's address to the nation, what this next chapter will look like for our country as we continue to fight this virus. New economic help now on the way, vaccinations on the rise, and the president will speak at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you then. Good day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
And of course, you can see the president giving that nationwide address tonight here at 5 p.m. our time. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The trial of the former police officer accused of killing George Floyd continues. And just this morning, the judge granted the prosecution's request to reinstate a third-degree murder charge against Derek Chauvin. ABC's Alex Perez has the details on the judge's decision as jury selection goes on.
Breaking this morning, after first striking the charge, Judge Peter Cahill reversing course, now granting a motion to reinstate a third-degree murder charge against Derek Chauvin, the former cop accused of killing George Floyd. The decision is something the prosecutor has been pushing for. Chauvin, who was seen pinning Floyd down for more than 9 minutes, has pleaded not guilty and is already also charged with second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. Floyd's cousin, who was in court Wednesday, says the family wants to see accountability.
What does justice mean for you?
I really just want to see the criminal justice system work the way that it's supposed to have the evidence in this case be heard.
Both sides questioning 7 potential jurors before settling on 2.
Only you know yourself well enough to say that I can be fair and impartial.
The first black man seated on the jury telling attorneys he has a favorable opinion of both the Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter groups, and that he's familiar with where the incident occurred.
I also used to live not far from that area before, when I first met my wife, so that's why I was like, it could have been me.
Also seated, a white male in his 30s or 40s who says he's seen that hard-to-watch video of Chauvin on Floyd more than once and said he supports Black Lives Matter.
When you look at the phrase Black Lives Matter, yes, they do matter, and I don't know why anyone would be against that movement.
A total of 5 jurors have now been seated, 4 men and 1 woman. The court needs 12 and 2 alternates.
And we also learned in court that 3 other former officers charged in connection with George Floyd's death will not be testifying at this trial. They will face their own trial in August. Alex Perez, ABC News, Minneapolis.